I welcome all of you to the English classroom. I'm Professor Sumita Roy, former head, Department of English, Osmania University. I hope all of you are following the channel because we are uploading lessons for everybody who wants to learn good English. We started with some lessons for beginners. Beginner's language drill were the two videos you might have already seen. As the beginners practice this, let us move on to another level before we put any more videos for the beginners. Today we have the mid-level, people who know English but who would like to become better. The first two videos for the mid-level will be on listening. Listening is a very significant skill because it is the foundation for all our communication knowledge. Unless you know how to listen properly, unless you know how to learn from the way in which you listen, you are not going to get good communication. Remember how a small child learns the mother tongue only by listening. As soon as the child is born, nobody starts giving the child textbooks and notebooks. I get many mails and many messages of people who say, please suggest some books for speaking English. You cannot speak English by reading a book. You have to build up your English first by listening carefully, listening actively. Let me tell you a little about all these. And then we shall have some exercises of listening. As you listen to any passage, you must first listen for content, that is meaning. A person who has active listening skills tries to understand whatever he or she is listening to. So listen to the passage, anyone speaking to you, and try to understand the meaning which that person is communicating to you. That is listening. In conversation, we have this all the time because one person is speaking, the other is listening. The other person speaks, then the person who was speaking earlier listens. Unless we listen, we can never benefit from any communication, any conversation in a meeting or anywhere else. For active listening, you also need something else, and that is level 2. Level 1 is understanding. Many of you say that you understand English. That's very good. But does your understanding of the language help you to use the language correctly? That is the second one. That when you listen to good English, you must be able to use those good structures, good vocabulary in your own English. You must store whatever you're listening from the language point of view. So there are two things here. One is the content, which is the first thing that happens. When you listen to a passage for the first time, you are interested in the meaning. You are interested in what is being said. The second level is language. How is it being said? That is what you have to concentrate on. So active listening consists of these two. Now there is a third thing, and that is imitation. When you listen to something or someone who inspires you, who you feel is speaking very well, then you need to imitate, because language is learnt by imitation. Unless we imitated somebody whom we heard in childhood, in a house where there are many people, the child hears so much and picks up the language quickly. That is the mother tongue. When the child goes to school, If everybody insists on speaking in English, then the child hears so much English. The child picks up English without reading any specific book on learning English. That is natural. That is the way in which languages should be learned. That is language acquisition. Acquisition means you just get the language. You don't read something and get the language. Therefore, what you need to do is you need to listen in such a way that these structures, this vocabulary, or these, this way of expression becomes a part of your memory. That is why repeated listening is very important. If you listen to a passage once, that's very good. You've understood the passage. If you've listened to a video once, I'm putting a lot of videos where I'm speaking English. You listen to it once, you have all the ideas clear. This is what has been spoken in the video. But the second point is it helping you to improve your language? Is it helping you to become better in your speaking and writing of English? Because listening, as I told you right in the beginning, is the foundation. Unless we use that foundation, we cannot build the building, and that is communication, which others evaluate. Therefore, please remember that listening requires repeated listening to the same passages. I will give you some exercises in these 2 lessons, 2 videos which we are going to have in our English classroom. But it is because time is short, we cannot have a repetition. And since you are so many, we cannot have practice session online. Practice has to be done by yourself. How much you practice, how well you practice, how you are able to listen to a passage, and then after listening to it 5 or 10 times, you are able to reproduce that passage not from memory. Don't memorize, but using your own sentences, using your own vocabulary to retell the same story. Here, the first lesson, the first video is on the short story. I have chosen 2 stories. And these 2, first I will read out to you. First, when I read it out to you, you will not be able to see the text. Because if you see, then you are busy reading. You are not listening. Whoever is using this video will first look at the text only at the second level. First you will listen without looking at the text, and then second again look at the text. So in these 2 readings, content is clear. You have got your content. But what you require now is language. So for that language, you have to read it for yourself many times, maybe sometimes 10 times, maybe sometimes, you can just play the video and listen to it 10, 20, 30 times. Then try to record that same story in your own words using your smartphones and see how much of the story you're able to speak out, you're able to narrate, and how much of it is like the original story, how much of your own language, your own creativity you have used in the story. A wonderful exercise would be if you read half a story and then you try to conclude this story yourself. Not what the story writer has written, but what you yourself feel, what you think the story might end as. So these exercises can only be done in a live classroom. We cannot do it on a video. Therefore, I'm giving you these suggestions. If you have a group of 2-3 friends whom you can practice with, you can do this. One of you tells a story half, and the other two complete the story from their perspective. They tell the part which you have said. Listening and speaking then go together. They are listening to you and they are speaking what you said. They are adding their own speaking, which you are listening to. Now, after both of them have narrated, you come back and you say that, okay, this is the conclusion of the story, which is actually the conclusion. What you have given might not be the conclusion, but the aim is to speak English. The aim is to use your listening ability to build up your spoken English. Whoever wants to speak English without listening is not going to succeed. So I insist that listening is very important for you, and unless you practice it, it is not going to become better. Listening is like storing some files in your supercomputer, in your hard disk, in your head, where you can retrieve the file when you are speaking. So please listen carefully. I'm sure all of you are now ready for some active listening. You can see on the screen I have put the title of the story, The Monkey and the Crocodile. This is from the Panchatantra stories. I'm sure all of you know the story, but as I told you, meaning is only one level. It is the structures, the expression, the manner in which we put English together, that is important for you. I will read the story out to you slowly and clearly. You have to listen. Listen carefully, listen actively. The Monkey and the Crocodile, from Panchatantra stories. Once there lived a monkey on a big fruit tree on the bank of a river. The fruits of this tree were very sweet, and the monkey enjoyed them. Soon he found a friend with whom he could share these fruits. It was a crocodile, which came to the shore often. Both the monkey and the crocodile became good friends and spent much time together. The crocodile told him about his wife. The monkey wanted to share the fruits with the wife of his friend. So he plucked many of them and told the crocodile to take them home to his wife. The wife ate the fruits and was very happy. Suddenly she had an idea. If the fruits were so sweet, imagine how sweet would be the heart of the monkey, who ate nothing but these fruits. Her husband was shocked, but she convinced him soon. The wife suggested a very simple plan, inviting the monkey to their house for dinner. The crocodile did as he was told, and the monkey was very happy to accept the invitation. He jumped onto the crocodile's back, and they set off for dinner. Midway on the river, the crocodile let slip that his wife wanted to eat the monkey's heart. The poor monkey could not swim. There was no way of escape for him. He was very frightened. But he did not show it. Instead, he told the crocodile that he had left his heart on the tree, and they should go back so that he could bring his heart along. The foolish crocodile believed him and took him back. The monkey jumped onto the topmost branch of the tree and told the crocodile to go away. He never wanted to see him again because he had betrayed their friendship. He would never again give any fruits to someone who had planned to eat his heart. With that, we come to the end of this story, which I read out to you. I hope all of you have listened to the story. What you need to do is, when I show you the story's text, you have to see whether you understood all the words, all the expressions, whether you noticed all the articles that are used for nouns, whether you are able to put the prepositions in the correct place, every conjunction which joins phrases and sentences in this passage should be clear to you. In this way, you are learning good grammar by listening properly, by listening and reading properly. Then you don't need a grammar book. The passage itself is enough. It's a simple story, interesting story. We have read it from childhood. But did you ever concentrate on the language part of it? That is what you have to do. That is why I will show you the text on the screen. Now you can see the passage which I read out to you. Since we are concentrating more on language, I hope all of you have understood the story. You already know the story. We are going to look at some of the very important aspects of language. One very significant thing is the use of articles. Look at the articles in the first sentence. It says, a big fruit tree. For the first time, the word tree, the noun tree, is used. So we are using an article a, which is pronounced as a. It is not pronounced as a. A big fruit tree. Big and fruit are descriptions for the tree. These are adjectives, and we use the article a because first time. Then again you have a river. It is some river, any river. So we use the article a. But there is also the bank of the river. Now the river has two edges, so they are specific, and we are using the word specific, the bank. Then now look at the fruits. You see how it is not a fruit here. It is the specific fruit which is available on the tree. And a tree has also changed to this tree. In the beginner's exercises, I have given many tables where you have this, that, these, those. So if you practice that, you will immediately know that this tree is pointing out, that is demonstrative. You're saying this tree. Then you have the monkey. You look at the first sentence, a monkey. Next time, the monkey. Now, earlier we were speaking of any one monkey. Now we are speaking of this specific monkey about whose story we are going to hear. Similarly, in the couple of sentences later, you have a crocodile. And then immediately below it, you have the crocodile. So I'm sure you're able to understand that if you want to correct your mistakes in articles, then you can do it by listening properly. It is because we don't listen properly that we say monkey lived on tree. So if you say once monkey lived on tree, your English is bad. If you say bank of river, again, it's not good English. English requires these articles. Maybe our mother tongue doesn't have it. Some of our languages might not have. But we should never think that we can translate directly from one language to another. We can substitute the structures of one language to another. That we cannot do. So we have to be careful as to what we learn. Now, throughout the story, you will find the monkey, the crocodile, and some descriptions also about them. Look at the last paragraph beginning. It says, foolish crocodile. Till now it was the crocodile all the time. But now we have an addition to the crocodile, and that is the adjective foolish, like we have big fruit tree. Similarly, we have the foolish crocodile. We have a big fruit tree because a was very, it was pointing to a single tree, any tree. The story is just beginning. Whereas the foolish crocodile, already we are introduced to this crocodile. It's a specific crocodile we are talking about. So throughout the story now, you will find the crocodile everywhere. But here you have a description for the crocodile, and that is the foolish crocodile. Go a little ahead. In the second column, second sentence, the poor monkey. Poor here does not mean wealth. Poor means unfortunate. Now see how meanings are important. You in vocabulary you will learn synonyms. Then you will know. Here the word poor does not mean as we use it usually. Say a person is poor, that means a person doesn't have food or doesn't have money or doesn't have resources. But it is not like that. The poor monkey here implies that it is the monkey who's unfortunate, the monkey who gave friendship but got only betrayal at the end. Now, what you need to also look for are the prepositions. Usually when you come to a mid-level, you don't make mistakes in nouns, pronouns, etc. They are usually not, verbs, you don't make many mistakes. But where you really make a lot of mistakes, even at advanced level, is articles and prepositions. Look at all the prepositions that are there in the entire story. Just this one story of a few words can teach you so much about prepositions, which by reading a whole book on prepositions, you will not be able to get. Because here you're getting practice. You're getting exactly how the preposition is used. On a big fruit tree. See, on is a preposition. On the bank. On again is a preposition. On is a preposition of position. You have on implies something is there below and something is there on top. So that is a position. So big fruit tree. Where is the monkey? It lived on, that is, tree is there, monkey is there on top. Then you have on the bank. Bank is here, bank is where the edge of the river. So it is ground, it is land. And there the tree is there. So you say on. Now, preposition changes. Off a river. Off here implies belonging. So the river, the bank belongs to the river. So we use off. Similarly, you have so many other prepositions. Came to the shore often. Look at sentence line number 4 in the first paragraph. The crocodile came. Where did the crocodile come? To the shore. To the shore. So we are using preposition to. To is, direction. So I go to school. I go to the station. I go to office. In this way, the word to is used. That is, you're moving in a particular direction. You can also say from to. I go from my house to the office. I go from my school to the bus stop. So from and to together, direction. You're seeing direction. Now, similarly, you will find other prepositions. But look at this word, the second paragraph, second sentence. The monkey wanted to share the fruits. To share here, to is not a preposition. To is a part of the verb share. Please remember that, here you have a very important distinction. With his wife. Now you see, with is a preposition. So with here implies that there are two people and they are sharing something. With has many other uses. As you come to more and more listening passages, reading passages, you must keep in mind these prepositions. So whenever you're listening, you stop at the preposition. Listen to the sentence again. We have seen on, we have seen to, we have seen off, we have seen with. All these are prepositions. Then you have some other prepositions also, I'm sure. We cannot go into so much detail because that would take a very long time, and we do not have that much time. So you need to look at all this, and always remember that you have a way of getting back to me by writing in the comment box. Till now, we have not had many comments where I can talk to you about. But blanket people say, Madam, teach us good English, teach us good grammar. I'm telling you how you can yourself learn good grammar. So you have to put that into practice. Now we shall move on to the next story. Let us move on to the second story. This is from the book Tales and Parables of Sri Ramakrishna. If you know who Sri Ramakrishna is, that's wonderful. If you don't know, you can read up or you can listen, and that will also not only tell you about Sri Ramakrishna, but also help you in learning English. The story here is The Root of All Troubles. Let me read out the story to you. I hope by now you have become proficient in active listening. And since I already told you about how to listen when I explained the story, the earlier story, about the monkey and the crocodile, you will be able to apply those rules to this second story. Please listen carefully and listen. Here may be a new story for you. I don't know if many of you have read this story or heard this story, but you have to understand the content, and then you have to also grasp the language items, remember the language items, and then that will help you to learn English. In a certain place, some fishermen were catching fish. A kite swooped down and snatched a fish. At the sight of the fish, about 1,000 crows chased the kite and made a great noise with their cawing. Whichever way the kite flew with the fish, the crows followed it. The kite flew to the south and north. The crows followed it there. The kite went east and west, but with the same result. As the kite began to fly about in confusion, lo, the fish dropped from its mouth. The crows at once let the kite alone and flew to catch the fish. Thus, relieved of its worries, the kite sat on the branch of the tree and thought, that wretched fish was the root of all my troubles. I have now got rid of it, and therefore I am at peace. Now the moral of the story, Sri Ramakrishna tells us. As long as a man has the fish, that is worldly desires, he must perform actions and consequently suffer from worry, anxiety, and restlessness. No sooner does he renounce these desires than his activities fall away and he enjoys peace of soul. That is the story. Tales and Parables of Sri Ramakrishna is the name of the book. You can get it online also, and PDF is available. The Root of All Troubles is one of the stories. There are many more. You can use it for your listening practice, and you can also use it for getting to know some wonderful stories with great moral lessons. These are all which we can use, and the stories are so small, so it can be used for all ages and all levels of learning. As we saw before, I have put the second story also on the screen. Now you can see, in a certain place, we are starting with an article. There might be some words in the earlier story and this story which are difficult for some of you to understand. The best way would be to check up the meaning or to understand from the context. Very often when we keep reading or we keep listening, after a few days, the vocabulary which was difficult for us becomes simple, because we find that it is not so difficult for us to understand a word which is repeatedly used. Look at the word fishermen. Now this is the plural form of fisherman. We did this singular plural forms when we were doing the beginner's level. I said very often you might have to add s to a noun to make it a plural, like the word crows, you can see in the third line. But fisherman's we cannot say. So the word is fishermen. Just like we have some other example, we have ox and oxen. So we have changes. Man is always men. Woman is always women. So although the spelling changes in the second half, the pronunciation changes in the first half. So you have verbs like swooped, snatched. Swoop and snatch. Swoop is to come down like that. Birds do it. Snatch is to take away quickly and take away by force. Then chase. Chase is to run behind. Cawing is the sound, the crow makes. If any of these words are difficult, let us not feel embarrassed. Oh, I don't know these words, so terrible. Nothing like that. We all start with not knowing so many things. The most exciting thing is to learn. You have the word relief. Relief becomes relieved. The anxiety, the worry, the stress has gone away. So the kite is relieved because the crow have, gone away when there is no fish. The crow were not following the kite. The crow were following the fish. So our worries, as Sri Ramakrishna says, come from our desires. If we keep having that desire like the fish which the kite had picked up, then we have worries. Renounce is to give up. So if this is a new word, we need to practice it 10 times or 15 times, and then we get the benefit. You must remember that wherever difficulties are there we have to look at the difficulties, face them, and solve them ourselves. You have verbs here which I mentioned, like swooped and snatched and were catching. These are all the various forms, verb forms, tenses we call them, which we will do in a long video or a couple of videos because they are very important. Dropped, relieved, then thought, then you have got rid of. These are all there. So we look at the verbs. Earlier I told you, look at the articles. A certain place, a kite, a fish, then the fish, the kite. Keep looking at them. Look at all the prepositions also. Root of all my troubles. Right in the beginning, in the title itself, you have the verb of. Then as long as you have, connective. These are all connectives which are used, consequently you have, again a connective. Then you have, thus relieved, thus you have. So you are encountering different structures. You are encountering difficult vocabulary sometimes. So when you listen or when you read, these are two significant things which we are practicing side by side here in both the videos, because I'm giving you the text also. So when you listen with your eyes closed and only concentrate on allowing the sound to go into your ears and then enter your head so that you can process the language, you can process the meaning and benefit from it. When you are looking at the text, you're obviously reading, you are not listening alone. So it is good at the beginning level, at the mid level, reading and listening is very good. That is why what I suggest, and I've suggested it in all the videos which all of you have watched in other channels, that listening and reading have to be done very often. And when you are reading, please read aloud. Aloud is what I'm doing, making a sound which is coming from my lips, my ears can hear. So that is what you need to do. If you are able to do all this, then your listening improves. If you are a good listener for a few months, you listen constantly. You listen to new passages whenever you get a chance. Even if it is a not a listening exercise, you just listen to news or you listen to podcasts, you listen to all these things. And what you are doing is you are not only understanding the content, concentrating on the content, but you are evaluating the language. You are making the language into small bits, absorbing it and using it when you speak or write. This is what is most important. So please do these things. That is your exercise. And I have given you only 2 stories here. We will do 2 poems in the next video. But that is not enough. You need a lot more, and you need to do what I did. With each of the sentences, you must look at each word, In a certain place, some fishermen were catching fish. So you must analyze each word. When you do that, one passage of this size will take you maybe 2 days or 3 days. Full practice. But then your concentration, your ability to use the language will improve 100-fold. I wish you all the best. Please watch, please tell everybody that you are benefiting from these videos. If you are, if you have problems, you're not benefiting, then you give me suggestions as to what exactly you are looking for. Don't tell me I want to learn English, because that's a broad category and I'm going to help you with that in this. Don't tell me teach me grammar, because that cannot be done. It's not a one sentence thing which I can tell you in just one sentence. It takes an effort which is gradual effort. So I'm putting an entire course in these videos because it has to be learned gradually. It takes 10 years for a child to learn anything in school, and then again another 5-6 years to learn anything in colleges. Therefore, you cannot learn it in 1 minute. You can pace up your learning by increasing your effort, your time devoted to learning. Then it will benefit you. All the best.